Welcome to Self-Publishing with ALLi from the Alliance of Independent Authors. This week it's our advice stream focusing on branding, marketing, and promotion. Join host Dale L. Roberts as he interviews the brightest minds, experts, and insiders in the writing and self-publishing business. Get actionable insights to help you level up your author brand and reach more readers. This Self-Publishing with ALLi podcast is sponsored by Book Vault. Sell high-quality print-on-demand books directly to readers worldwide and earn maximum royalties selling directly. Automate fulfillment and create stunning special editions with Book Vault Bespoke. Visit bookvault.app today for an instant quote. And here's your host, Dale L. Roberts.
When we talk about success in self-publishing, one name that consistently comes up is Brian Cohen. From his work with Best Page Forward to co-hosting the Sell More Books Show podcast and running some of the largest Amazon ads challenges out there, Brian has helped countless 6- and 7-figure authors position themselves for real long-term success. Today, we're digging into what makes a brand stand out and how you can build yours in a way that actually attracts readers and keeps them coming back. If you've been wondering about what separates the authors who break through from the ones who burn out, you're in the right place, Brian. I am so geeked up to have you here on the Self-Publishing with ALLi podcast. How are you doing?
I'm good, Dale. I'm happy to be here. I feel like I've done some ALLi stuff from back in the day before you were in there, but I'm glad that you're in with the gang now.
Yeah, I'm pumped up too. I got a lot of questions loaded up, so let's just dig right on into things because I know you and we can probably keep jib-jabbing on, but everybody wants to hear. They wanted you to deliver the goods. So you've worked with a ton of high-earning authors. What are some common branding traits you see among those who've built sustainable success?
You know right off the bat, you see their cover, you know what subgenre it's in. You read their title, you know what subgenre it's in. You know what the tropes are. You know everything about it from the get-go every single time because they figured it out. Heck, the thing that they didn't publish, that there was their first idea for the title and the cover and whatnot, you probably never even saw it because they workshopped it so hard on their team. They ran it by fellow 6- and 7-figure authors. So there was no question that it was going to work before it hit the streets. They already had it on lock.
Really? So my question would be, a lot of these folks, are they hiring out for like their cover design, or are they having to hire a marketing expert to figure out like what's the best title or subtitle to use?
I don't see the too many people hiring out for title. I'm sure they're getting feedback though.
Okay.
It's not in a vacuum. They're not in a vacuum. They are getting feedback from people who know or from their readers. But with the cover, 100%. They're unless they are a trained graphic artist, they are farming out the cover, and more often than not, they are farming out the cover to the same cover designer who designs lots of covers for 6- and 7-figure authors in that subgenre. They didn't find a grandson with graphic art experience. They found someone who has specifically delivered in that subgenre.
I'm laughing because I've heard that situation before where there's my neighbor's son's girlfriend is a great graphic design artist, and then you look at the cover and you're going, oh, okay. So what would be your recommendation for those folks that are maybe 1-figure or 2-figure or 3-figure authors that are having to do their own book covers? Is there a way around that?
I mean, look, I'm not necessarily a pro-AI or anti-AI person. It certainly levels the playing field a little bit as far as having to do it yourself. But if you have to do it yourself or you have a minimal budget, really get an understanding of what these covers actually are. It's like, oh, there's a picture of a bird on this cover. I'll have a picture of a bird that I get from some deposit photo, stock photo. It's like, no, it's not about the bird. It's about the what is the background image? What is the title font? What is the author font? Where are they placed? What type of style is used on those fonts? It It's like the contrast. What is standing out on the cover versus what is blending in? Those you need to think like a designer. And if you can't think like a designer, go buy a pre-made cover or go work with like Get Covers or something and just have 20 or so back and forths with them. Eventually, you will get something cheaper. But in the long run, it's not about nickel and diming. It's about what puts nickels and dimes in your pocket.
I love that. Now, let's go ahead and transition, because obviously I want to kind of hang around branding here for just a second. For authors who feel overwhelmed by the idea of quote unquote branding, where's the best place to start?
Start in the branding of your subgenre.
Okay.
You need to know, what are the scenes that must always be in this book? What are the scenes that go viral in this subgenre? You know, you can look those things up, right? What went viral? Hashtag whatever. Go look it up. What does the opening scene look like in your genre typically? You read the look insides of 10 of the best-selling books in your subgenre. I'm guessing 8 out of 10 of them have a very similar scene right at the beginning. There are patterns. You can choose to research or you can choose to ignore, but ignore at your peril.
So true. How do you recommend authors balance being authentic with presenting a polished and professional looking brand?
I think that you need to know the rules before you break them. You need to know what this subgenre looks like, what the website colors are that show up on this subgenre. I had an author I work with in my Pathfinders coaching group, and I said, what are the colors? Just run down the top 100 in your genre. What colors stick out? And at first they're like, I don't know, they're all place. And then they're like, pink. And I'm like, okay, let's start there. Let's start with the pattern. Recognize one pattern, then recognize two, then keep trying to go down the list and recognizing. You don't need to be polished, amazing, professional in every single way, but you need to start recognizing these patterns and then applying them and then get better at representing those patterns over time. It's not going to be perfect at first. Nobody had it perfect at first, but if you don't try, you can't succeed.
How long does this type of research entail? I mean, is this ongoing? Is this something I need to like spend the next 10 hours figuring out? Or is this something that will take maybe the next 10 years, a little bit at a time?
I think it's 10 years, a little bit at a time. There's no way to know everything at the start, and you don't have the skill at first on the marketing side in order to even make those things a reality, like the Ira Glass podcast from years ago of just like your actual ability versus your taste. You have a strong taste, but your abilities haven't measured up to deliver that taste yet. It comes over time. You learn, you grow. Eventually, you're able to do it. I talked to an author, 10-year overnight success. She'd been publishing dozens and dozens of books. She had written several hockey romance books in young adult before hockey romance was a thing, as it kind of is now. And so she'd been building up. Nothing really hit. 9-10 years down, she decides, well, let's take it up. The age demo. Let's understand a little more about what's hot now. She'd written those dozens and dozens of books, and then she had a $65,000 month. And that didn't happen from 10 straight hours of research. That happened from hundreds of hours of research spread out over 10 years. I don't think there's a way to rush this.
Can you ever recall off the top of your head any time that you've worked with any clients that got it right out the gate?
There actually have been. But often, the ones who've gotten it out of the gate either had been training in complementary skills for the last, 10 years. Oh, they came from a marketing background, but then started writing. Or they came from 20 years of having ghost written or 20 years of having edited in professional publishing. No one who came off the streets who had none of those skills ever got it right away, and that's okay. You're allowed to learn and grow.
So it's going to vary per each person, but for the most part, it's a long game type situation, especially if you're just brand new, square one, no experience at all.
And thank goodness, right? It'd be so boring if life was just so easy to master. But you take your time, you learn little bit by little bit. It's exciting to pursue that next level of growth. And then you get it, and it's like, awesome, I'm at the top of this mountain. I see there's another mountain peak. Let's celebrate first. Then we can keep climbing that next mountain peak. It can be part of a really exciting life if we don't look at it like, darn, I'm not there yet.
So true. There's no game genie in life, sadly,
Oh, I know. I jacked that thing on.
Yeah, exactly. Get that God mode going on, and you're killing it on that game. I'm sure everybody there's going to probably be some younger people who are game genie. Just Google it. You'll find out.
Exactly.
Right? We've kind of just briefly touched on genre. What role does genre play in shaping an author's brand? And do you believe branding should change across genres or stay consistent?
It should definitely change across genres. I mean, every genre is different. Genre is everything, and we can even go tighter. Trope is everything. The prevailing typical plot constraint of that subgenre that the author decides to write. I'm a big fan of Catherine Mara. Kat Mara is presented at various conferences, and she has decided, I'm not just going to do romance. I'm not just going to do contemporary romance. I'm going to be a specific trope, and I'm going to become the trope that the readers of that trope come to me for. And I'm going to get really good at creating the viral moments and viral scenes of that trope that are going to go nuclear on TikTok. I am going to become the master of that trope. And that's the true extension of learn the rules before you know how to break them. If you can get so narrowly focused on getting the trope perfect with what the readers want, you then have the ability to truly branch out. But I think that the branding for that trope is out there. You can see it. If I was at a conference, a wonderful Inkers Con a few years back when it was still doing in-person events, and an author came to me and they said, all right, well, I've got this great story. It's fantasy. It's got these elements in it. I'm like, can you find 10 stories just like it? And she said, no, it's totally unique. I'm like, well, that's a problem. You need to find 10 stories that are just like it, because then there's proof that you have a genre that people already want. And look, no, you don't want to copy those 10 other versions, because anything through your lens anyway is going to be unique in its own way. But you need to know that readers are buying this book before you go and spend 1,000 hours writing that series.
So true. How can new or mid-list authors position themselves when they don't have a big backlist or a fan base yet?
I have been very impressed by authors like Jamie Albright, who has an amazing podcast with Sarah Rosette, who have gathered thousands of emails before the book even came out. I've been so impressed by these folks. They've learned the strategies of building a community. They have a freebie that is going to relate to the book they're eventually going to write. Katie Archer, who I mentioned earlier with the $65,000 success in the college hockey romance, she put out a wonderful freebie and got thousands of readers before she launched the next book in that case. And she was absolutely a mid-lister moving into a new subgenre. The best way to know that there are going to be readers on day one when you launch a new subgenre, a new direction, is to go find them first. Yes, it's going to take time. Yes, it's going to cost some money. But at least that will pay off because you will already have readers rather than just leaping into the pond and hoping that you catch some fish.
Hopefully nobody tuned out. You mentioned something about spending money. Gasp. Be still my heart.
Clutch
What
the
could
pearls.
someone yeah, exactly. What could someone expect to invest in building out their fan base? Like, say, even like an email newsletter, getting enough subscribers that makes a launch worthwhile.
Save $50 to $100 a month from the second you decide you want to be an author. Have it automatically withdrawn into an account because the money is going to vary. How much investment is required for cover and editing and for newsletter growth and all of that stuff. It's going to vary. You could do it for several hundred, you could do it for several thousand, but start saving now. Auto withdraw, because I have seen, Dale, there are some amazing authors, some other folks who are in my Pathfinders group that we're talking marketing. We talk marketing the first couple months. And then I start to there's something under the surface here. I peel back the layers, and it's like, oh, I have $30,000 of debt on a 25% interest card. Or, oh, I have all this medical debt that is, I've just been adding to another card and another card. I'm like, y'all, you have invested a lot of money into publishing without getting your life right first. And look, good on them for selling a lot of books. Good on them for making the progress. But you dig yourself deeper if you don't take care of those things. So you really do have to understand the good concepts of what is bad debt versus good debt, what is bad investment versus good investment, because all of these things are going to impact when you get to a certain point, if you're able to grow or if you're stuck, because I see a lot of these authors getting stuck once that debt becomes the albatross that is totally dragging them down.
Which, by the way, good tale. If anybody doesn't understand the reference of the albatross, that is amazing. I've heard, and this is funny because I think you and I have seen enough of these grifters on YouTube before where they're just like, pull out a credit card. It's going to be worth it. Is there ever an instance of maxing out or opening a new credit card for this business worthwhile?
I have played some credit card games before. I'll admit I was deeply in debt in my 20s. I had tried some film projects and things that I put on cards without truly understanding it. And there are games to be played with 0% cards and things that you can do that limit your risk. I've definitely done the get a 0% card, put things on that for those 12 months while paying off a 12th of that every month, then getting a new card. So I'm never even paying that transfer fee. I have done these things, but I would learn that game and research that game before you ever do it. I'm not a financial advisor. I would definitely not recommend you do these kind of things without knowing about it. But I do think that if you go into publishing saying, and I know you've seen this before because this is a many told tale, if I don't make this work in 6 to 12 months, I'm quitting. And yep. I get it. And so then you do that risk. You say, well, I'm going to put this on this card that gives me 6 months, 0%. If I don't have it done by the end, then I'm pulling out. But it is a long game. So I would rather you put out the minimum viable product. Don't assume the first thing is going to take off, but you spend time as a currency rather than money at the beginning. Spend time reading and researching. Spend time growing your email list slowly. Spend time understanding the tropes. That is going to be a better use of currency at the beginning because there is no easy to see payback opportunity unless you figure it out. And you may figure it out in 6 months. You may figure it out in 6 years.
I feel almost like, Brian, I hate to say it, you've become the Dave Ramsey of self-publishing, giving some good financial advice. Although you say you're not an expert, but I think that you're definitely nailing it. It's so funny you're talking about the 0% game of Like, let me max this out, but I'll make sure I clear it out before the year is up. Yeah, I've ran into a situation where I didn't get it all cleared up. And of course, I'm sitting here eating a cost.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's
Yeah.
transition over from talking about crippling.
Leah, please.
Honey, we need a better segue, man. Who's hosting this thing? Can you talk
Ah.
about the connection between strong branding and better results with Amazon ads? Because you are the go-to expert in Amazon ads. I mean, for crying out loud, they have actually even shared you on Amazon Advertising's platform.
Yeah, which I'm grateful for every single day. I think that we have to remember when we are getting a cover, when we are getting a title, we see it big. We squint a little like, well, let's make this bigger on our screen. Let's go to 125%. And it's like, yeah, that looks pretty good. But that's not how readers see it. They see it tiny. They see it little. They see it small on the search. They see it even smaller on that carousel of sponsored ads. They see it even smaller on their phone. And so your book cover, your title, it better stand out. It better have contrast. It better look like the genre, because those readers are not going to be able to look at it at the 125%. They're going to look at it at more like 12.5%. And so you need to remember this. I really highly recommend that you look extremely at your cover, extremely tiny, because that is what almost all readers who you advertise to are going to see.
You've touched on the visual aspect, but I think one of the things that you are really great at, and part of the reason why now you have the agency of Best Page Forward, is book descriptions. You've helped authors craft best-selling book descriptions time and again, and you've even trained people to do that. And they continue to get results for other people. How important is the sales copy to an author's overall brand identity and, of course, sales?
It's the closer. It's the closer. People see your ad. That's based on cover and title. If they click, it's based on your cover and your title. You get over there. You can run ads with copy, but barely anybody does anymore. So you might as well just not do the one with copy. The standard ad is what most people do. That's cover and title. Do they click over? Whether or not they continue. And we've seen heat maps on various pages before of like, oh, people will not even look at your cover anymore once they've gotten to the page. They've already looked at that. So they're looking at the title. They're looking at that little reviews bar. And then they go down. And usually they are going to make a decision either from just seeing the reviews. If they haven't made a decision to either click away or to click the buy button, your book description is your last line of defense to keep them on that page. If it doesn't sound good, if it doesn't sound like the genre, if it doesn't highlight and mention the tropes that readers are going to see in this book, or if it's nonfiction, the kind of transformations that it will provide for you, for the reader. If it's not closing them right then and there, you've lost them. So the book description, sometimes people buy before even reading it, but if people go past the reviews and go past the title, then it is your last chance to get them.
Any resources you would recommend for somebody to tighten up on their sales copy? Obviously, Best Page Forward is going to be one of those, but do you have any other resources you could mention?
So we have 2 books on the subject. We actually kind of released them in reverse. I wrote with Phoebe Ravenscraft, which was mostly my system and Phoebe's writing. Phoebe did an incredible job on Fiction Blurbs, the Best Page Forward Way, which is available on Amazon. Highly, highly recommended. That goes through the whole system. And then when you are getting to the editing stage, How to Write a Sizzling Synopsis, which was the first book I put out on the subject way back in 2016, still holds water, still has one of my favorite chapter openings I've ever written. I've had it was mentioned in the in reviews at the beginning of chapter 7. In a chapter that says, all right, well, this is the system. I said, hey, For those of you who skipped to this page, it's good to see you. Welcome to the book. And I still get comments on that because you know how people read nonfiction. They're trying to get to the good parts.
Why, I never.
I know, exactly, right? And so those two books have all sorts of things from my brain, from Phoebe's brain. Phoebe, who has, with Best Page Forward, written thousands upon thousands of blurbs before she went off to become a successful paranormal women's fiction author. But if you have any question about how to write a blurb, those two books will do it.
My goodness. Well, you've given us a lot of great information. Brian, I could easily fill 2 hours just chatting with you. I had even more questions, but I figured we'd probably rabbit trail here and there. How can people get a hold of you? How can they find you? All that other type of jazz.
Well, if you like podcasts, I've been running one for almost 11 years. The Sell More Book Show podcast, which can be listened to or watched on YouTube, anywhere good podcasts are found. But y'all, I am putting out a lot of content every year, and we've recently decided to put it together for really cheap amounts. We're going to be having all these wonderful little $9 mini courses and $9 books and $9. You're going to be able to get so much for less than $10 because we really just love creating these things for you. If you come over to bestpageforward.net, you can join our list. Get ready for when we are putting all these books and videos and stuff out into the world, because we want to help you to make good marketing decisions one at a time until you get to the point where you are profitable, sustainable, and scalable.
Thank you so much for your time today, Brian.
You're welcome, Dale. Thanks, everybody.
You've been listening to the Branding, Marketing, and Promotion stream of the Self-Publishing with ALLi podcast with Dale L. Roberts. This podcast is sponsored by Book Vault. Sell high-quality print-on-demand books directly to readers worldwide and earn maximum royalties selling directly. Automate fulfillment and create stunning special editions with Book Vault Bespoke. Visit bookvault.app today for an instant quote. And if you haven't already, we invite you to join our organization and become a self-publishing ally. You can do that at allianceindependentauthors.org.